speaking of Governor Rauner and Mike Madigan, was the governor wrong to think that he was going to be able to sit down and hammer out some kind of budget deal with Mike Madigan that included at least some of what he had outlined as his policy agenda?
Well, I don't think that he was wrong. I'm just never sure what he's actually trying to attempt to accomplish at any particular time.
Well, so
I think there have been efforts to deal with the state finances, as the speaker points out. There have been 6 or 7 or 8, I lost count right off the top of my head, Dan, of appropriation bills that have been passed for various full budget, partial budget, clean up the mess from the fiscal year before Rauner came in. And we've been able to do that and pass bills and do it in a pretty bipartisan fashion. It's just when they get all tangled up with the other things he wants to do, that's what becomes harder. And then, in my honest opinion, if the guy had learned how to take a victory lap on some things, we'd be much further down the road.
For example?
Work comp. House passed a bill, Senate passed a bill, could have reconciled it. Wasn't good enough for him. Because I think he's got advisors who say, oh, no, you got to get 100%. You got to get 100% of what you want on a particular topic before you can really be satisfied.
I'm not sure that's the case.
Well, I think that's what I've seen play out.
Okay. Well, I mean, I know to kind of his inner circle of advisors, many of whom previously worked for Mark Kirk. And I think they, generally speaking, and as does Governor Rauner, he wouldn't have made all the money he made if he didn't know when to declare victory. And frankly, recognize that sometimes you need to take half a loaf rather than if you can't get the full loaf. And I think that's a philosophy. It seems to me, just going back to those collective bargaining agreements, that he's been willing to negotiate with people that come to the table and successfully as well, that come to the table in good faith.
Well, all I see is where we've tried to do some of the things he's wanted to do, maybe not 100% his way, and he's resisted.
Is it more because he has seemingly been negotiating against himself? I mean, he lays out a turnaround agenda, then he's willing to walk it back in, all the while saying, I'm open to revenue if we talk about at least some of what I'm talking about here and what I want here in these structural reforms. But then he negotiates against himself, so you're just letting your political opponent negotiate against himself rather than having to compromise to move the flag on, for example, passing the first truly balanced state budget in, say, 15 years.
Yeah, I don't know that he's really negotiating against himself. I think he's realizing that he's not been persuasive on some of these things. I mean, he talks about, he uses the term local control as if it was really going to be applied, but he's going to tell local governments what they could control and how they could control it. So that's not really local control. Many of them, several hundred, have said no thanks. And so then he walks back from different things, So I just think he could have had some near-term accomplishments that were on that list in the first session of the General Assembly. He missed an opportunity.